Thanks, Hannah. So I partnered up with Levi Wilson from our team at Summit Venture Studio, and together we're going to provide a little bit of a case study, some lessons learned kind of from the trenches. I'll probably pull some impromptu, didn't warn them beforehand, questions and interaction from the audience. So just be ready for that when you hear your name, especially if you're on the Summit team. But the the subject of the presentation today is validating business ideas and how to go about collecting information and insights from your potential customers or future customers without being too biased, and really letting those conversations lead where they need to. So I'm going to kick it over to Levi for the first few minutes. I'll probably, have him pause a couple times through for any questions, but Levi, why don't you kick us off?
Sweet. Let me share my screen. Like Spencer said, the topic today is how to validate a business idea, and I kind of wanted to go over how not to validate a business idea. Just a little bit about my background before I start. A couple years ago, I was in an entrepreneurship class, and they were talking about tech transfer, and I got really interested in it because I thought it was really cool that there's an office at universities that holds all the IP, that has an expert in the space, has an MVP product and a market that they've been doing research and trying to target. So I got a job at the BYU Tech Transfer Office, worked there for a couple years, and now I've been an analyst at SVS for the past year. Personally, I'm also a Tongan rapper. I lived in Tonga for a couple years, and then I came home and I released 2 Tongan rap videos. Those videos have received close to 1 million views, which is impressive because the population of Tonga is 100,000, and there's only 100,000 of Tongans outside. But that's just my little, that's my personal get to know me fact. So I worked at the BYU Tech Transfer Office, and the very first project that I started working on was called the Gas Chromatograph Mass Spectrometer Organic Aerosol Monitor, and that took me about 3 weeks to learn how to say that. But it's a really cool technology out of BYU's chemistry department, where if you can see this infographic, it goes, you put the GCMSOM is what it's called. You put it outside and it will track all of the air particles and where it's coming from, and especially pollution. So it can tell if pollution is coming from a local factory, if it's coming from people in the winter burning, having a fire in their home, if there are people on the freeway driving cars, like how much is pollution is coming from each spot. And so it's a really cool technology that could track all of that in real time, where right now it takes $1 million machine and a couple of PhD students to go do that same process, and they can't get that information in real time. So as soon as I started working on that project, started doing a lot of validation. I talked with directors of business development at air monitoring companies, talked with professors, different experts in the space. I was able to hop on a call with the entire state of Utah, their air monitoring team that was in charge of all pollution. And after I worked on this project for a couple months, and that was probably like 3 years ago, I realized that I learned absolutely nothing about the business potential of the GCMSOM because I didn't know how to validate. But I did learn a couple lessons that I want to share today about how to validate. First is the necessity of technical expertise. Second is how to have a conversation. And third is the volume of conversations is really important when doing validation. So first off, industry expertise is a huge plus. For me as an analyst, I don't really have time to get, like for the GCMSOM, I didn't really have time to get a PhD in atmospheric chemistry. But one of the issues that I had is I didn't take the time to learn my ideal customer profile. I didn't learn who they are, what problems they face, what are they excited about, scared about, where they meet, what lingo they used. When I look back on it, I was probably, when I had these conversations, I probably had 30 or 40 conversations. I was probably only getting like 50 or 60% of the insights that they were sharing because I didn't know the lingo. And so either taking the time to learn that lingo, stopping the person that you're talking with, or having somebody with you who does have the technical expertise is a really big plus. The second thing I learned is how to have a conversation. One of my favorite books is The Mom Test by Rob Fitzpatrick. Really, the basis of his book is that everybody's lying to you, and especially your mom. If you say, "I have this business idea," she'll say, "Oh, it's a great idea," even if she really thinks it's a terrible idea. And the main uh, kind of insights from this book is to talk about your customer's life, not about your idea. When I was working on the GCMS OM, I would quickly have a conversation, like kind of get to know the person I was talking with, and then I immediately go into the solution that I was talking about. So I didn't really have any awareness to the problems that my potential customers were facing. But really, I was just kind of getting generic feedback about the idea that I was presenting to them in the GCMS OM. And it's really important the second point, to avoid generic feedback and to get really specific. My favorite question to ask potential customers when I'm validating a business model is to say, what is the implication of that? If there's a problem, try and quantify it, because it's a big difference if a solution will save them 5 minutes of time versus an hour of time versus 10 minutes for their company versus $1,000 for their company for this process. But to get really specific on and quantify the problem that your customer is facing. And lastly is to look for commitments. When I was validating this first project, I would, after my initial conversation, my relationship with that person would immediately end. But ever since then, I've been starting to ask people to introduce me to a decision maker or another potential user, or maybe even sign up for a pilot or even prepay for something. But it's important at the end of a conversation to look for a commitment to really test to see how interested the customer is. And then lastly, I think Spencer is going to go over this in a little bit, but we're running a kind of a boot camp at Summit Venture Studio where we're having entrepreneur leads go and have a ton of conversations with people trying to validate business models. And really, the volume of conversations is really important to learn more about the ICP, to test different marketing channels. Like, can you talk to people through cold calls? Can you get in touch with them through emails or posting on social media? And if you don't do that, you can get really skewed data. When I was at BYU, I worked on a project, a software for music professors, and I was able to talk. I worked with a team, and we were able to have talk with 6 students and 4 professors, and 9 of the 10 thought that the software that we had was a really good idea. But we then ran a survey and had conversations with 52 other professors over the next couple of weeks. And 51 of the 52 shared that the solution was kind of cool, but the problem that we were trying to solve wasn't a problem at all. And so the technology that we were thinking of going after at BYU wasn't really as valuable as we thought. But just to recap, I think it's really important. If I was to go I actually have no idea about the GCMS OM. I still think it could be a great idea. But if I was able to do the business validation again, I would really seek out the technical expertise, find people in the field who are experts who can explain concepts to me and stop people when I'm talking to them. I'd make sure to talk more about their problems than my solution, and then continue to have a lot of conversations with the customers that I was looking after. But that's all I got. I'll turn the time back over to Spencer.
Thanks, Levi. Um, if there's any questions, go ahead and throw them in there for Levi based on his experience. I've got one, Levi. What are some substitutes? If you don't have a PhD, in chemistry or atmospheric sciences, are there any other ways or kind of substitutes to get closer to some expertise?
I would say talking with professors at universities has been something that's been very helpful for me to explain concepts very simply. And I would also just say the other thing is just to take a lot of time. I'm working on a speech therapy project right now, and I kept having this phrase come up, which was Gestalt language processing, and it came up in 3 or 4 of my conversations. And I would make, and I had the speech therapist kind of explain it to me. But then also on the side, I went and I just did a lot of research on it on the side so I can make sure that when I'm talking to speech therapists, I know like I can have more insights into what they're saying by understanding the terminology.
It's great. I'm just curious by raise of hands or reactions on Zoom, those who have read the mom test. If you've read it, use one of your reactions here on Zoom or just give a thumbs up. Levi raises his hand.
Want to.
Brian says nope. It's a quick read. Oh, there's some. All right, there we go. There we go. It's great. So one of the things I like about the mom test is it it's a good reminder of, like Levi said, a lot of the way the book is written is, don't do this, don't do that, do this instead. And it actually builds on some of the work of Gift Constable. And if any of you have read Talking to Humans, also a great book. And we've talked about that here on Midday Connect before. But one of my favorite things about Talking to Humans, I'll put it in the chat here. There's these really wonderful cartoons that go along with the book. Both of these books you could read, in one sitting, but right out of the gate, the first cartoon on Talking to Humans, it's what I presume are technical co-founders sitting in a room, there's a box of pizza open, they're all in front of their computer screens, and they say, one of them says, if I were our teenage girl target, I would love our new product. And one of them says, have you actually talked to any to make sure? And another guy says, what? And leave this room? And it's, sad but true that it's a natural tendency. We get really excited and passionate about the things that we're working on. And we don't stop to think, how will my customer use this? Do they care? How do I rank stack their problems and jobs to be done? So 2 books, I guess, that are kind of required reading for us here at Summit. I'm curious to hear more from the trenches, lessons learned. So maybe and I'm giving you advanced notice. Let's see, I'm going to give advanced notice to Andy and Parker. Times when you thought you knew something about your customer or partner or the business you were pursuing, and after you had enough conversations, you realized you were just headed maybe in the wrong direction. So I think you've had enough time to think about it. I'll let you guys flip coins for who goes first. Andy came off mute. Okay, Andy.
I'm ready. I'm ready for this. I've been waiting for this my whole life. In my last job, I had a customer tell me this great idea for a business. He said, you should really do this. You're in a great position to do this. We launched a website for it specifically for this customer. And I went back to talk to that customer about really affordable pricing, and they did not sign up. And it wasn't something where I needed 100 customers. I needed 5 to run a really profitable business. I could not get 5. I could not get the one that told me to build it. So that was a big slap in the face of talk to more people and maybe make that person commit a little harder than just like, here's a great idea.
Love it. Okay. Parker.
Pitch in real quick. Yeah, I was just gonna say, for a project that I'm actually currently working on, I without getting into too much detail, the problem we're trying to solve was teacher burnout. So teachers feeling overwhelmed, exhausted at work and leaving the job, not becoming teachers in the first place. And what I thought was a great solution, is teacher training around behavior. If teachers know how to deal with behavior, they'll be happier in their job, and that will fix the problem. And I've learned, as I've done a lot of validation, as that is an important piece of it, I've learned that there's so many factors that go into teacher burnout. For example, like parents complaining about their kids or always taking their kids' side and things, or maybe they don't have enough resources. A big part of it is just teacher pay. For example, they feel burnt out because they don't feel like they're paid enough, or they're not appreciated by principals or other school administration. So in the process, I learned that yes, the product we have is helpful to help with the problem that we're facing, but it isn't the entire solution. And so it then leads us to think, what else can we do to resolve a bigger piece of that problem, I guess. So that's kind of what we're in the middle of now.
Who are you talking to validate or invalidate the assumptions that you're creating?
I've tried to broaden it more than I did at first. At first, I was trying to talk only to our customers, the people that would actually buy our product. So at first it was like professional development or other district admin people. But I learned quickly that they have very different perspective than the teachers, like elementary school teachers and school district administration. A lot of times aren't aligned in how they feel about it and things like that. So the more I broadened who I was reaching out to, not just the ICP, ideal customer profile, it helped get a lot better feedback, and even talk to like people like Spencer, for example, who's a parent and involved in his kids' class and education. Like it's helpful talking to Spencer and other people like that to also understand different sides of it. So the more broad and general has actually been helpful for me rather than focusing too much in on just the ICP.
You shouldn't take my advice, Parker. I already told you that when the teacher says my kid's doing something, I always side with the teacher and assume that my kid is the problem.
Yeah, you're unique.
I make. I put a question out here in the chat. Would love to learn from the group how you organize your notes from conversations. We use Zoom recordings inside Summit, which has an awesome like AI companion summary that gets pretty good at capturing notes. And then, oftentimes we'll take the transcript and drop it into GPT and just hit it with a lot of questions about, key points and messages and themes, which has been helpful. But I'd love to hear from the group. So if you've got hacks and tips for organizing notes from calls and interviews, would love to hear it.
I think I have a comment or two.
Go for it, Harley.
So that question about teacher burnout was pretty heavy discussed here in Idaho when I was getting my master's in educational technology. And the one organization that I thought knocked it out of the park was Northwest Nazarene University in the second year of teacher education. So the freshman year, you get the basics. The second year, they would bring them in and counsel with them and say, look, you're about to do some job shadowing. You're going to learn about principal and parent interaction with teachers in the classroom monitoring, discipline, all that kind of stuff. And then you're going to come back at the end of the first semester of the second year, whatever the time frame was, and say, is this really a career you want to pursue? And if it's not, it's okay. We'll get you to the right position, because we were getting 80% burnout. We were that in 3 years, 80% of the first year students weren't teachers. And that's just untenable. It's not the people who want to buy Levi's software to eliminate or mitigate teacher burnout and stress. It's the teacher themselves. So be very careful about identifying who your customer is. And I'm experiencing that right now in my mobility facility, where we want to recycle and upcycle electric wheelchairs. And we have a product we think that people are going to buy. But until you actually, again, ask a lot of questions, and they have to be open-ended questions.
Yeah, the open-ended questions are key. I like Thanks, Harley. Chad, your comment about a framework and going in, reserving some time for, just kind of, we'll just see where this goes is good, but we should be going in, and this is what you're taught, in the mom test, as well as, I'll drop a link in here to some of the Steve Blank material and how to build a startup. He's big on, this is a test. And so if it's a quality test, you need to write down some questions and write down some assumptions. And then, in the mom test, there's a series of ways that you can code the feedback, and you can come up with your own schema or methodology for doing that. But the idea is, in a general sense, was it positive? Was it negative? Was it inconclusive? Where did you take it from there? Any other hacks or tips from the group on conducting quality interviews? There's a link for.
Say something.
Yeah, go for it, Elaine.
A gentleman named Barry Ryan. Barry, and then Ryan is Rhein, I believe, and he says something like selling by curiosity. I think that's something like that. But what he says is, he says use curiosity to talk to people. Be very curious about everything that's going on with them and how they work and things like that. And if you just keep in mind just being curious without being in a selling mode, or without being in a I need to get this information, but you just are curious about what they're all about and what they're doing, you tend to get better conversations and more deeper abilities. But if you ever want to do like a class by him, he comes out and he gives a whole like 4-hour training on how to be curious.
That's cool. Yeah, more curiosity about their needs, right? Than about you trying to sell. And sometimes sell we're excited, right? But again, if you go back to some of those cartoons from Talking to Humans, it's like, well, what are you after? If you keep the end in mind, what's the goal? The goal is not, well, maybe the goal is to have, everybody tell you how special you are, but that's not the goal of a business. The goal of the business is that people open up their wallets, and they're not going to do that unless you're providing a solution to an actual problem. Yeah.
Hey, Spencer,
Yeah.
do you mind if I add a comment? So
Go for it.
I just wanted to add something to what I had posted in the chat, which was one of the things that I think is hard about doing interviews is it's hard to like, you have your list of questions, but it's hard to not be robotic about that and I think what Elaine was saying about curiosity, the reason I kind of keep that framework in my head is so that I can ask questions and then just let them go. Like if 80% of it should be them talking to me, and I'm marking those things off so that I don't have to ask them. And then I I'm kind of looking and saying, oh, these two things we didn't touch on, and I'll prompt them about those two things, and that makes it a little more natural conversation. Because you don't want to feel like I showed up with a clipboard, right? And okay, check. Another tip that I've used to kind of help take that qualitative and make it quantitative is if I have a survey that I would have wanted to present to them, I fill it out myself after the interview so that I can get those answers in a kind of a survey format, but I didn't have to worry about the awkwardness of, hang on, did I get that? And hitting all those things. A lot of times if I get them talking, they'll go through, most of the questions that I would have had anyway.
It's great. Yeah. And it's another great plug for either a note-taking app, or if they'll allow it. And in my experience, the majority of the time people are sure, yeah, you can record this. Especially if you set up the conversation in a way that, this is about discovery. This is, I'm not here to sell you anything. And then you have to be true to that. You're truly not. Now, if you get to the end and they're like, what are you building? What is this thing? It's like, okay, we're going to make a break in the conversation, right? We're not in the discovery mode now. If you want to see it, yeah, I do have a slide or two we can look at. But then from that point forward, you're kind of leaving the realm of open-ended discovery curiosity a little bit, because now they're going to be framing all of their responses through what you showed them. So there's been a couple of books and links shared. we can keep this conversation going online on our LinkedIn page if you're following us. Thankful for Levi for coming in and being curious enough to share his experience, and glad to have you all here today. That's gonna kind of conclude the presentation portion. Selfishly, so Hannah, you can stop the recording.